Hello and a very, very good evening and welcome or good morning to us from wherever you are watching us from. My name is Moses Echodu, and of course, I'm joined by Hudson Mugweri, a very massive, I don't know whether to call him a sports enthusiast or just someone who is a journalist in the world of sports, or I don't know. One time is a sports enthusiast, another time is a sports journalist. Um, Addison, maybe good evening to you, and perhaps tell the viewers what you are exactly.
You can call me anything. You can call me anything. As long as
Yeah,
it's postulated. As long as it's postulated, we're
yes,
good to go. Yeah.
yeah. How has been your day? How has been your week, really, Hudson?
The day hasn't been bad. It has
Yeah.
been a great it has been a great day. It has been a great week. My team won the bronze about it.
Congratulations, by the way,
That's, thank you very much.
from relegation to here.
That it has been a dramatic season. That's the truth.
Yeah, quite a season. Of course, we're going to delve deep into that as well, and we'll talk about some of those circumstances and some of what led UCU to to almost near, how do I put it, near relegation and things like that. But before we get into all the basketball jazz and all the basketball stories, to our viewers who are just joining in or who will join us later, today we're going to be talking about basketball. The playoffs are coming to a close, and the City Oilers will be taking on KIU Titans in the men's final, and then of course the KIU Rangers will be taking on the JKL Lady Dolphins in the women's final. Quite some tussle ups there that are going to come up, and you expect that there's going to be rather some great, incredible action. And of course, we have been joined by Semujo Lewis. Hi, Lewis. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, guys?
We're good.
Good.
We're good, Lewis.
Yeah.
Good to have you here, Lewis. And of course, we're going to be talking about rugby. The Rugby Victoria Cup is back in Uganda. There was hope that the Uganda Cup would be starting in November, but perhaps that will be later on in the month of November, because now we have the Victoria Cup that has come on, which will also act as the first round of the Elgon Cup. But we'll discuss that in a little bit later on as well. For those who enjoyed last week's topic of dispute, sports dispute resolution, we'll be having Bakshi and that is Charles Gava making a return in today to be able to discuss more on that. Last time they just hinted on a few things, but this time around they'll delve deep into the conversations. Talked about player image rights. We spoke about, talked about, the contracts of players, contracts of coaches as well, and the circumstances under which the Blazers withdrew from the National Basketball League. But also we spoke about the resignations that have been happening at the Cricket Association. And today there's also a hot topic of Babide Kitio, who has again been asked by the First Lady, who happens to be the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, to vacate her current position as president of the Netball Federation. But away from that, we'll get into the action and into all the stories. And Lewis is here. I know Lewis has to get some bit of rest because there's a big NFL game coming up tonight. And so, Lewis, first and foremost, I'm going to get you in speaking on one, the Victoria Cup
Yes,
is
yes, my
finally.
guy.
And
Mm.
what do you make of the return of the Victoria Cup? But also, what do you make of Zimbabwe not being able to take part in this?
Leaving that
Um,
aside, we need to tell
mm.
our viewers that we are going to host the Victoria Cup from two grounds. That is at KPA and Chadondo.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Hudson, now for this platform. First of all, guys, welcome back from that fight with Darren on Saturday. Uh, I know you two are one neck and neck with Darren and then the first up guys, but yeah, we all know how that went. But
Yeah.
regardless, welcome back from that. And
The good thing is that
speaking
we're nominated, and so that's recognition of our efforts. Yeah.
exactly, which means people actually watching and they're not noticing your work, so that's a good thing. So back to the business of as why we are here today. Rugby, by the way, yeah, like Hudson I must have mentioned, the Victoria Cup is coming to Uganda. Maybe actually what you left out that could spice this is, and so is the Elgon Cup. Yeah, because we have Uganda, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. Our first game will be against Zambia. Kenya's first game will also be against Zambia. Then the third game in the Victoria Cup will serve as the first leg for Elgon Cup, and then Uganda will go to Kisumu for the second leg. So it's going to be quite the end of the year for the 15 side. I know they've been hungry for action. There's not been much happening because if you've been watching on the internet, I've been disturbing. I read so much that last year they got ready as a senior team, and then Zimbabwe sent them another to this squad. And it's been we've been looking for this so much because if you realize last year we were being called the canceling rugby union. Like everything was getting cancelled. We had the national sevens were postponed. I believe they were scheduled to start nines, and then they were pushed for a month. After that, we're like, maybe, and then we know what happened with the legends grounds and everything. That's why we haven't had sevens rugby but legends. And then after that, Elgon Cup was cancelled. Kenya cited financial problems. And like, okay, maybe Victoria Cup. So the union what's around the Victoria Cup something. Then that's when Zimbabwe gave us the good news of if you can, we can give you under 20 boys, and so that you can do with under 20 boys. And that's where
Imagine a
Asamoah.
30-year-old Joseph Aredo running against 18-year-olds.
Actually, given Aredo's height, he could pass, but imagine Akira Komakech within 6 foot three itself and a beard playing under 20. I know some countries like Kenya love to scoop some old men into the tournaments, but I mean, imagine a Somali under 20 in the tournament. So that was cancelled, but it's a good thing now. Uh, Philippines rugby is back. I know people like Jude Mugabe are not fans of sevens rugby. So when you tell them that Philippines rugby is going to be back and then they have internationals, it makes them a lot happy. And I think he is happier that the ground with the charger is the ground that's hosting one of the game, some of the games because we have Uganda's first game at KPA, then Kenya will play Zambia at Chadondo, and then Uganda will come back for the Elgon Cup first leg at KPA. So everything looks up on there for people like Jordan and the entire Paris school because I mean they've taken on the air by storm. Everything is looking pirates, everything is shining pirates, and I think it's only right that they've been awarded the rights to host these games, and the guys in the background, Massa and Nathan, they've really pushed for should I call it a good atmosphere and a good experience for rugby fan. The whole shade and the also the pitch. Of course, it's not a complete project, but you can see that there's promise and they're dedicated to it. So I know many people like myself are looking forward to these games. Are looking forward to meeting Kenyan at Kings Park because we haven't played them there, which means we have the chance to beat them and taunt them and tell them you have never beaten us at Kings Park. Even when we never play them there, we never play them like this. It will be a 1-0, one for Uganda, zero for Kenya. That's all I want to beat them there in Magom's house, and then we take to social media and tell them, you know what, guys, you have never beaten us at Kings Park, and you will never will. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good time for rugby lover and to think game
and,
love. Yeah,
and,
thank you.
and of course, Lewis, the first fixture between Uganda and Kenya that is going to be at Kings Park will also serve as the first leg of the Elgon Cup. It's been a long time coming for the Elgon Cup. The
Mhm,
union has worked tirelessly to see to it that the Elgon Cup makes a return. But
mhm.
just how important is having the Elgon Cup actively involved and having the Victoria Cup? How important is it for the national 15s team?
It's funny you should ask about importance because right now we are having the Rugby World Cup happening, and there is this whole thing of tier one nations and tier two nations. I think it's only in rugby where we have this elitism. It's not only here, by the way; it is across the globe. There are countries that are probably tier one, and they you don't find them much in tier two conversations. And then, of course, tier two people are trying to break barriers. The same case that are people. I'll tell you. I know I will be famous for this, but I'll tell you things. People from clubs like I'll put Rhinos in that case. I'll put I think Buffaloes can afford calling them as a tier one club, or like Rams. You know, trying to break a barrier and also because they're one of the big boys. And the conversion is mainly around the fact that there are some tier one nations that have never gone to even their neighbors to play a game of rugby. I'll tell you this for a fact. Australia has never played in Samoa or Tonga, and yet they are all the three are Pacific Island nations. Yes, that is weird and it is not funny at all, but that's the truth. They are all Pacific nations, but because Australia, even when they couldn't make the knockouts this year in their poor form, they still consider themselves a town nation and they put themselves so elite and they don't want to associate much with the tier two nations, yet they can't beat in a tier one guy. So mirroring that conversion back to the local scene is what it means for us. Um, South Africa are the best team in Africa that plays rugby, but they have not played. They have not played Namibia by the way. Namibia, they have never gone there, even if they're neighbors, and which means uh, it is next to zero for a chance for the Queens to get a game against them. What can we do? The best we can do is wait for next year Gold Cup and play Namibia, or speak to Kenya and tell them you guys did better than us during the qualifiers last year. You played Namibia, you played some of the teams that are already in the World Cup. You have more experience than us, and you're our neighbors. Your calendar isn't so busy. So how about we do this thing of our regional cup and bring it back? Let's play some rugby, of course, for the sake of camaraderie, for the sake of some brotherhood, and after the game, let's share a beer because well, rugby is a party. So this is what it means with these boys because Magoma is captain. Magoma and these boys haven't had this action for more than a year. All they do is read about the New Zealanders, the South Africans, or even the Kenyans when they do carry cup in South Africa. So we are I would say we are cash strapped and our resources aren't the best. So we find ourselves in a position where we actually have to beg. And when we get these chances like playing Kenya, playing Namibia, or playing Zambia, it goes beyond just doing well for us. It helps the boys in camp because tell me why you would want a Chisano or a Didi in training for 15s when there's no game is going to play. It's just wasting time and he might get injured there. And we know how the union has left commission when injuries are brought on board. So this works well for the boys. It's a chance for them to measure themselves against continental, I would say powerhouses in terms of Kenya and also neighbors in terms of Zambia. Of course, it is sad Zimbabwe isn't going to be part. They said it was short and all, but having the guys actually play a game it also it gives them something of a conversation when they meet the likes of Adrian, or Aaron, and the like. And like, you know what, guys, we also have international games. I know you guys did Africa Sevens, blah blah blah, and you're doing all these games, so many invitation to Kenya Sevens, but we also have games now with Zambia, we have games with Kenya, and Kenya is the Elgon Cup. You know how big it is, because the Elgon Cup is actually it is for which if Uganda wins, I'm sure we shall climb up a number of places in the ranking. I don't know what it means to Kenya. I think they'll get a few more points on that tally, but for us it means a lot. If we beat them, I'm very certain we'll climb the number of places. So it means so much to the boys, and I'm very glad. I'm very very happy that we're going to be having international 15 games to close out there. Yeah.
So
Well,
Lois,
we're going to be
wait, a quick one.
discussing basketball. We're going to be discussing all the other stories. But first, Hudson has a question.
Yeah, quick one.
Yes,
Now that
also.
we are, our first game is on 28th of October against Zambia.
Yes, yes.
That's at Kings Park.
Mm. Yes, yes.
How prepared are the boys? Is the squad now named? Are there some on the players yet?
Um, Actually, the squad has been in camp. They have been in camp, and they've been using Kings Park for that training. I think it could be one of the reasons why we'll be choosing Kings Park the whole way, because probably Magomo and the winds of Kings Park have negotiated a deal. Like, you know what, when I'm kicking, let's behave like so, so let's do that. But of course, jokes aside, the boys have been in camp. They were called a while back. I think it's over a month. It's over a month. This thing has been in the kitchen, and I had a chat with Ivan sometime back when he was at my Rotary club. I'm like, yeah, we're training with the boys. After national team training, I do some private training. So the boys have been in the camp. And I want to have faith because of of the three nations playing, you could rank Kenya number one. That uh, I don't care who comes at me for that. Then Uganda number two and Zambia number three. So it's a good thing that we are playing Zambia first, so that we get I'll call them the nerves and also get the real match preparedness for the Kenya game. Because you'd consider Zambia the lighter weight or the lightest weight in South Africa to get us ready and also give the boys the kind of boss they want as we get ready for the games against Kenya. But yes, the team was named, the team was called, the boys have been training, and I am expecting some good free flowing rugby like Uganda is always proud of.
Yeah, of course, we'll try to get Captain Ivan Magom in studio next week on
Mhm.
Thursday to try and give us a highlight of what the feel is like at the camp and how the 15th team have taken the news of the return of the Victoria Cup and also the Elgon Cup. Um, Key to note for the viewers is that the ordinary ticket on a given match day will go for 20,000 Uganda shillings, and for the VIP tickets it will be 50,000 Uganda shillings. But there's also a package that has been coined. I don't know if Lois, you're well versed with the package that has been coined. I saw is it the ordinaries?
For the eight
There's
people,
there's very
for the eight
there's
people,
funny mathematics. Five group of five.
That mathematics was not mathematicking.
That mathematics leaves a lot to be desired. I'm really hoping it's an error, by the. I'm really hoping it's an error because if anyone thinks that one ticket, I believe for the three games ordinary is 50K. Then
Not
for the
20K.
five,
Hey,
no, like all the three games,
yes, yes,
all the three games, uh, 50,000 is enough to get you through all the three. Apparently,
yes,
then a group of five is 270. That mathematics is not mathing because ideally, 5 by 5 would be 250. And if you
yes.
want to attract numbers, you're supposed to reduce it. But then these guys increase it. But then also, it doesn't surprise me much because it is Uganda rugby.
Yeah.
These guys,
Yeah,
sometimes even math fails them. And yeah, but here we are. But I'm really hoping it's an error and it's like 210 or even just 200 so that we can fill up Kings Park. We can empty Massa and Nathan's fridges while we shout on top of our lungs for the boys.
that's right. That's right. Well, Lois, I want to say, thank you so much for joining in and giving us a little bit of higher of what is going to happen in the world of rugby this coming year. But quickly, before we let you go, the NFL season is on, and my oh my, have games been falling like coins.
Man, I love it so much when the American sports season so when the American sports seasons are on. It is so much fun. The NFL is so closeted with Americans. Like they do it so well. The marketing is so nice. The only problem with the games is maybe for us at times when people don't agree with us. So you know, it needs insomniacs who actually love sports and have no other lives. When you find yourself watching American football from 8 p.m. on Sunday until 7 a.m. on Monday morning when you have to check in office at 8. But the NFL is, man. If you're looking for if you're looking for a new favorite sport, I think you should do the NFL. It's easy and it's awesome. You learn so many things. You get to learn so much about um why Americans are so into their hot dogs, into their beers, into their celebrities. Like everything is they get a small thing and then expound on it, and before you know it, you're falling in love with it. Like, well, tell me why on earth, as a Seahawks fan, I want to find out about Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, because it is Taylor Swift and it is freaking Taylor Swift. So I find myself watching the Chiefs because, well, I'm hoping Taylor Swift will be in the box and they turn the screen to her, and I'm like, ah, yeah, Taylor Swift. Oh yeah, this is not Travis Kelce, the alleged boyfriend. But the NFL is on. We're going into week 6. My Seattle Seahawks are number 2 in the NFC West. Of course, it's always hard when you have the Niners in your same division. But we'll see what to do with them in game week 10 and game week 12. Um, for those that don't know, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are the defending champions, the reigning Super Bowl champions. So we'll be seeing towards the end of January or if we can represent at home. But things don't look good. The Eagles are on fire. The Bills, well, the Bills are being the Bills. They are choking. You can relate the Bills to the Spurs in football, where they'll have a good run and then at some point, like, I think we did it so good. So, we can't continue anymore. This is as far as we can go. That's the Buffalo Bills for you. But the Patriots, after Tom Brady left, nothing seems to be happening in that house. They are very useless house. So um, it's awesome. This evening, go tomorrow morning. It is Kansas City Chiefs and Denver Broncos. That is Russell Wilson, my former quarterback, and uh, and Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the world right now. So it should be quite a game, and I'm looking for the underdog. I love underdog stories, so it's not working out so well for me with Australian rugby. So, yeah, and I'll be up for that game as well. I love to watch Russell and Mahomes. Yeah.
Lewis, quickly, away from that, the Rugby World Cup, the quarterfinals are on. My goodness, what a matchup! Uh,
You're funny. You're very funny.
what a matchup! Yeah, the All
Yeah.
Blacks today have dealt the first hand,
Mm-hmm.
releasing their team. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
key notable, things that have gotten tongues wagging is Coles being on bench, Reagan being completely left out of this team. But of course, Mark Telai, who has, I think, a bit of a knock, will not be taking part in this action at all. And then impressively, or non-impressively, Ian Foster sending that is Bowden Barrett to 15.
About the New Zealand team, by the way, you're very funny. As you asked me about rugby quarterfinals, don't know Australia is not there. But regardless, I'll try to be objective. um, the funny thing with the quarterfinals this year is that it is the North versus the South. So you can't cherry pick of one game or be on. No, no, no. Choose one side. Are you for the North or are you for the South? That is across all the quarterfinals. It is England and Fiji. It is Wales and Argentina, Ireland and New Zealand, South Africa and France. But speaking about the lineup, the reason why Mark is not in the team today, the coach said it was a disciplinary issue. And when you're in camp or when it is team time, you're supposed to uphold team values. The only way you can get your team as is if you uphold team values. So if you're the kind of chap that will want to, because I scored a hat trick sometime in some game, the coach can afford to lose me so I can misbehave. No, 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 no. The coach is the judge, jury, and executioner of what happens in that squad. So I believe the coach was well in his right to boot Chile and not even put him in the game. But also you can look at it this way: the coach has favored a lot more of Crusaders than Blues. Why is this an issue? Um, we've known the Blues to be butlers. Last year, the Blues, uh, thanks to Ben O'Keefe, survived the Brumbies in the semi-finals, and then went on to the finals of Rugby. And the Crusaders watched them so sober, watched them sober. It was so easy. People were like, Brumbies would have done better. Even Warriors would have done better. Come to this year, the Blues didn't show up at all. We had the Chiefs in the finals, Chiefs and Crusaders, and Chiefs, even after the hot year they had, Crusaders still found a way against them. And that's why you can say that the coach has favored a lot more of Crusaders because right now it is big boy rugby, it is big game mentality, and you can say that Razor at Crusaders has imparted, uh, should I say, a warrior spirit, a warrior fighting in the lad. That's why you can choose to have Lisa Fenganoko because he's going to give you an engine for 80 goddamn minutes. He's going to fight on defense. He's going to be less on attack. He's nifty with his feet. He can give you something extra. He's not a one route runner like Maxwell is going to be. So I think it's going to work well for the All Blacks that they have Leicester Fenganoko on one wing and then they have Uji on the other wing. It's enough just to have Gordon Barrett and Rico Yowan as the blues because even the main engine of the match, number 10 is Richie Mwanga, who has come into it with the national team, is now playing like the Richie we've been saying before. So for the All Blacks, actually, I have so much affinity for the South. So the entire way, I'm rooting for the South. Though a little bit of me wants France a bit to win it, but the whole way I'm rooting for the South. And for this game, I'm definitely rooting for the All Blacks. I don't wish Ireland anything good. Yeah.
Well, South Africa take on France in the other big encounter.
Mm. Um, for that game, it being in France, like the home of France, because the news cycle is so much about Antoine Dupont and his injury that he got in the Namibia game, and how he's back, how he's making it, and what. But I believe South Africa already played their best card that they could, bringing back Henry Pollard in the mix. Like he is the calmest, I believe the only calmer head or the only calmer executor in world rugby. The only calmer killer, I would call him a calmer killer, would be Dan Bigger for Wales. Like, but Andy Pollard puts the ball anywhere in a crunch game, he's going to kick it through. Be 2 points, be 3 points. Dan Bigger is going to put it through, and the Pollard is going to put it through. So, and I know there's been some concerns about Manly Bob being the engine in the team, but now that Andy Pollard is back, I think they will be more settled, and the backline will be a lot more involved because South Africa have played the group games through the forwards. It is the forwards who are gotten into. Of course, apart from games like against, I think it was Romania, when the backline ran amok. I mean, it was Romania, so really the forwards didn't have much work to do. They would just run circles around them and they were through. But with France, it's going to be a whole different ball game because France wants a lot to mimic the game that's in New Zealand, a lot faster and it's faster recycling. So New Zealanders will have to be wary of that, and sorry, South Africans will have to be aware of that. And they have a tendency of, if things haven't gone our way in the first 20 minutes, then nerves are going to creep in and penalties are going to creep in. And when you concede penalties against France, there's no Thomas Ramos is going to kill you. I know Henry Pollard has won a World Cup through kicking, but Thomas Ramos knows every blade of grass in France. I'm sure even if you put the ball on the eye for somewhere, he'll kick it through it's some hole somewhere. That's how much Thomas Ramos is deadly. And if they do that, they'll bring on Melvin Zamini. He will do the same thing. But I believe with Antoine Dupont back for France in the engine room and he's controlling things, he'll be doing some magic for France. And you can't count out Damien Penault. One, one, there's a saying that goes with rugby literati. When Damien Peno plays, Damien Peno scores. It used to be the same for Wimbledon until some few games ago. But when Damien Peno plays, Damien Peno has to score. So South Africa, I don't know if they call the Sangomas or Rassi spoke to his grandmothers about what they should do for Damien Peno. But as certain as it is that Damien Peno has to score in this game, so ideally, South Africa are starting 5-0 down. They should just work out a way on how to overcome that 5-0, and maybe they will beat them and upset the host, and then go to the semi. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Luis. Of course, the other games on card, England do take on Fiji, and then of course Wales take on Argentina. Those are games that are almost pretty much decided. Like Luis has said, it's the North versus the South in these quarterfinals, and but the all eyes are going to be fixed on what will be happening between South Africa and France, and then All Blacks taking on Ireland. What
Um,
level of basketball will be displayed? Reminder that the All Blacks
what
and Ireland.
what level of rugby? You just said basketball. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, that level of rugby. Sorry.
The man is obsessed with basketball.
Right?
One level,
Right?
one level of rugby. Well, again, thank you so much, Lewis. I know we have eaten into some of your time, but we want to say thank you, and we'll definitely be calling on to you probably next week when we have Ivan Magomin in to join us as well. So we look forward to having a chat with you again next week to talk about uh, the Elgon Cup, but also the results that will have come out of the quarterfinals.
Thank you for having me, Moses. Thank you for having me, Hudson. And Moses, I've just remembered you're a City Oilers fan. Something in me had told me you were used to your fan, and I was going to taunt the losers in Jeffries, but I'm really hoping for Kerry Titans to do that. That is if we get fair judges and not electoral commission nonsense. But I'm looking for the Titans. I'm looking for Titans. Anyone but City Oilers.
All right. Thank you, Lewis. We'll be chatting with you next week.
Right. Thank
Right. Hudson,
Yep.
quickly, how are you doing, man? I know we've literally been, discussing with that is
Louis.
uh, Lewis nothing but rugby for the last
Yeah.
30 minutes. But we are now back onto now basketball. Hudson, quickly, the basketball scene in Uganda has been shaken in ways that not many would have expected. Uh, UCU Cannons this season almost going into relegation. They had to carry an entire university of fans to come and rally the boys on, push them, and luckily for them, now Blazers, having withdrawn from the season, found themselves in the playoff positions. Of course, the beneficiaries of that were really the Kampala Rockets, who got to play in their first playoff of their existence in the National Basketball League. But ultimately, good recovery for one of the best franchises in Ugandan basketball, because without UCU Cannons, we probably would not be having some of the finest basketballers the country has.
True. I would say it was a hard season for the ECE Cannons, generally, because remember that walkover against power over jersey issues, it really
Yeah.
hit them so much. And remember, I think second round, the coach wasn't around for some good time, was up and down. He
Mm.
was in those camps, traveling around. So also that costed them a lot. But of
Mm.
course, they came back in playoffs. They played good basketball. They beat Power in the quarterfinals. They
Yeah.
went to the semifinals against KIU. Of course, three of their starters were injured. That is
Yeah.
Rogers Downer, Jimmy Otim, and Sifuma was on and off. But still, they pushed so hard. You saw they played the game. They fought until the last whistle. Of course, the last game they lost by half a basket, which was
Mhm.
hurting. But of course, they came back strong in the third playoffs game.
Yeah.
They beat our Sevilla. Yesterday, you saw how Kaida played the game. That's the key to watch.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the key to watch.
Yeah.
That's the truth. He had 15 points yesterday. As for Sufuma, he had 23 points yesterday.
Yeah.
Of course it was a tight game, but they had a good fight. They fought until they won it. I would say generally it has been, to me, I would say it's a good season, though they fought relegation, but it has been a good season for them because they didn't walk away with nothing. They walk away with a bronze medal.
Yeah. When you look at City, I mean UCU Cannons, they have really been unfortunate. During regular season, they lost one of their key players. During the playoff games against KIU, they lost Jimmy, who was absolutely like what you'd call the heartbeat of that team in terms of
True.
picking up points. How
True.
much of the injuries have gone on to affect UCU's season if you're to assess things?
I would say it has been a difficult one because even the position they were in regular season, they would be in the top five, not in that struggling thing of like a veteran relegation. They would be in the top five because they struggled a lot. There was time Jimmy was also out for some time. Sifuma was out for some time. Jerry lost his dad. He moved away, so was out for some time. Even Ibanda was out for some time due to injuries. So that their captain. So that costed them a lot. They were on and off. They would have
Yeah.
a team like in one game, a full team, then next game, two players are out. Asking what's on ground, this one is injured. So that costed them a lot.
Well, and of course, Coach Nick Nateres, it seems to be the man who understands how to pick up results with his boys and
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah. Is a good guy. Is a good calm guy because against KIU we saw at one time how he started using rookies in a team. He started the first five had rookies. Everyone was like, "What is Nick doing?" I'm like, I remember doing. He did it against Power one time. He beat Power properly. He used Wundi. He used Watcher. He used. Uh, I think he used four of the young kids who were not even starters, and he beat Power. By the time Power woke up, though, it was too late. So this time around, he used some Marvin, the young kid. He used like 3, 4 rookies, and they played a good game. You'll see that the future is there. Though they are losing two of their players, they might lose Abraham Isiagi, who is a leader to me. They may lose Abraham is a leader to me, and also the Rogers Dauna is also graduating on Friday, so they might lose two of their players. But as we speak now, they're trying to get a good team. They're trying to Nick. We know Nick what he does. He can get 2, 3 players, and they turn out to be superstars in Uganda. Because whoever is in that UC team, everyone is like every team watches those kids like, how is this kid performing? Because as we speak now, I'm sure teams are now busy talking to a team who is just a second year, who's not yet done with his books, but they're talking to him.
Yeah. Well, quickly away from that, the ECU Lady Cannons as well did beat Jetty Lady Jaguars to finish third. Wow. The first quarter, what first quarter that was, Hudson.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
What
What
a
did I
first
tell
quarter
you?
that was from Jetty Lady Jaguars.
It was 21-2 in the first quarter.
Yes.
It was it was really a bad one. Jetty Lady Jaguars was completely off. Then they came back in the second quarter. They played some basketball. I saw Moding dropping 3 pointers there. I saw Zaina stepping up as well, assisting and playing some good defense. But they were already affected. They were already affected because UCU wasn't going to go down anytime soon. They're like, you know what? We got this. We have to win this. And you saw how the
Yeah.
girls played. They were playing this
Mm.
basketball like, you know what? This is normal. We can do this. And of course, they won the game in an easy way. They never fought so hard. I would say they never hustled like how we expected them to hustle. They did
Yeah.
hustle a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a smooth one.
Hudson, first of all, congratulations to you and the entire UCU fraternity. Yeah, you didn't get to walk away empty-handed.
True.
But impressively, Hudson, as we head into the finals, there was a new sponsor that was also unveiled by that is the Federation of Basketball in Uganda, and that is the on-air sponsors who also came with Crystal Water. Quite great sponsorship for the different teams, if I may say.
It is a good one. It is a good one. I was so happy when I saw Honor on board Cutters of Reham and also Christotes Cutters of Reham. They are on board the refreshment company, which is now helping us sponsoring the playoffs. It is a plus to the federation, I would say. Thanks for looking out for that sponsor. At least teams, you saw teams having refreshments, not suffering like we're looking for water. No, everything is there for them. And of course, I expect them, some money might come through as well. And also, when it comes to social media, we might see influencers coming on board, watching games, and social media may become a big thing, may be a big thing. You see basketball, everyone will be talking about basketball, will be trading, everyone is like, what's happening at YMCA? Because most of the games are going to be at YMCA. It's kind of honor, which I know when it comes to their brand, they make sure their brand is up there. So it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that having Honor coming on board, of course, we've seen the kind of you know social activity that Reham Cola has been doing, or Reham Company has been doing in terms of their products, and
Yeah.
you'll be certain that they will not want to just come and and just have their name all over the place and without trying to create some bit of buzz. So you expect that there's going to be some bit of buzz created in terms of social media activity, but also impressively is that having Honor and Crystal Water on board as sponsors of the NBL finals, it cuts across. There are fans who are saying, having Tusker or having Castle Light or having whatever, that's an alcoholic drink. Some of us don't drink some of those alcohol beverages, and so we don't really benefit from some of the goodies that they have to give out on the day. So I think that if Reham comes with the idea of giving us some of the branded items for the finals, the fans cutting across will be beneficiaries, if we are to
True.
say.
True.
Yeah. Well, quickly, Hudson, away from the news of the sponsors coming on board, there is a big one that is coming up, and that is the NBL Women's Final. The JK Lady Dolphins take on the KU Rangers. KU Rangers get into the final. They have two teams in the final. They have both the women and the men's team in the final. But for the women's team, such an uphill task ahead of them, taking on the JK-led Dolphins, who are arguably one of the best teams in the country, and bolstering some of the best players in the country who have been playing for the national team. Recently, they were in Kigali playing for the Gazelles in the AfroBasket. But when you look at KIU and you look at JKL Dolphins, do you think there's an opportunity for KIU Rangers?
Our viewers I will tell our viewers it's the first time KU Rangers reaching finals in the NBL basketball history. It's their first time reaching finals, the ladies team. Of course, I would say they assembled a good team. You've got Ines Kanyamuzi, you've got Peruth as well. They've got the Zambian, who's a beast in that D. It's going to be a hard task, I would say, because for Jekyll, after the national team, the basketball Op Akelo plays is so different compared to how she was playing. She has really improved compared to how she used to play. Of late, she can assist. Yeah, she can drive in and assist. Of course, you look at Brenda Ekon. She's looking forward for her first championship. She hasn't won a championship yet. She's like, I need to win a championship as well. Last season, they reached game 7 and were beaten by UCU Lady Cannons. This time around, they're like, what? We can't lose the second finals. So it's going to be a hard task for KIU Rangers, but it's how the difference matters a lot. That difference will determine a lot Because I know they're good at offense, but how is their defense? Will
Yeah,
determine the championship. Yeah,
yeah.
their defense will determine the championship.
When you look at the JKL Dolphins, you can always rely on players like Hopper Kello to be able to pick up on those rebounds and really dominate that paint. But she's added so much onto her game. She's now a better shooter than we have seen her in the previous years.
True.
You have that is Evelyn Nachinji, who is also putting up quite incredible performances herself. You have that is Flash Okecho, who's the evergreen Flash Okecho, is also in there putting up performances. But when you look at the KU Rangers, where does their strength lie?
They are shooters. They're shooters. Mainly in this, they're shooters. They mainly rely on their shooters. Also, they have a runner in Perth. Perth is a good runner. She can, she's a good runner and she's good at defense. But their shooting, we hope them because we saw them against Jetty Jaguars recently. Yeah, how they said dropping threes and everyone was like, wow, wow. In the third quarter, how Ines dropped like three back-to-back three-pointers. Yeah, so their shooting will help them a lot.
Of course, we were talking about the runner, and it reminded me that also at JKL Dolphins they have a runner who Uganda has nicknamed the Road Runner. That is Brenda Ekon. So it's going to come down to how the coaches apply themselves in this game, I believe, because
True.
this is a game for the JKL Dolphins. One, they want to win this, but number two, they're going to use this game as also practice, but to keep themselves really fit. Because remember that at the end of the month, they have to travel down to Kigali for the Zone 5 Women's Championship.
Yeah. So when you look at the team of KIU, I'm looking at Rosemary Amanio, who can drop double figures. In the last game against Jetty Jaguars, she dropped 18 points. Of course, I can't forget Sharon Chirabo, the big man, who we know she has good post moves. So Sharon and Hopper Kelly will be a good matchup. Then Perith Nyamwenge against Brenda Ekon to be also a good matchup. Of course, in the assists, I can't forget Ines. She can assist as well. Though their captain is better when it comes to assisting. She's called Ninette. In each game, she can move out with around 8 assists in each game. She doesn't like scoring, but she just loves assisting. So it's going to be a hard task for Jekyll Lady Dolphins. Though that be thing of like we need to win it, we need to go for another zone 5. If they, of course, they're going to Kigali, yes, towards the end of October. But if they win this championship, because they're already qualified for the zone 5, that's another thing as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be an interesting matchup for both teams.
Well, Hudson, we'll leave that at that, and I remember that the games are starting this weekend. But Hudson, there's been a very big matter that has come up. I think are you well? I think you're very well versed with Bashir. If you're not well versed with Bashir, then you're not a basketball fan who actually goes to watch these games. But you know of our friend Bashir. Well,
yeah.
I happen to be in a group where Bashir has come out and said that, listen, some of the players and some people from the UPDF team have actually come out and threatened him that they are going to make him disappear or they are going to beat him up. And I think that is really unfortunate in the game of basketball. And of course, one of the things that has been raised is that where he talks about is that at the UCU Open, if you remember quite vividly, he was supporting a team that was up against that is the UPDF, and so he got punched by a one Moses, if I'm not mistaken, and they accused him of using vulgar words, but Bashir, according to one of the people that were actually there, Bashir did not at any one point use any vulgar words. So I think that kind of behavior needs to be something that that the federation has to look into. But also, I think it is really, really dangerous to set such a precedent where fans are now being threatened for just supporting a team that is not the team that someone identifies with.
True, that is really bad. The federation has to look into it. Bashir is one of the big fans of basketball. You look, we know him. He's always banging desks. He's always banging chairs when when he's winning games. So
Why are you having such an introduction when I'm just moving into the space? I'm a very peaceful man.
why would people threaten you?
Eh?
Moses, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that it's very unfortunate that Bashir is one of those very passionate fans in Ugandan basketball, and it gets really, really, and incredibly tragic when a fan like Bashir is threatened. It means that any one of us who gets to support a team that is up against a UPDF could probably get threatened as well.
But UPDF has been relegated, so they need to fight so hard to come back into the top flight. They need to focus on their first division now. How is the first one going to be next season?
Yeah.
Not threatening fans. These are fans. These
Yeah.
are normal fans who just make noise every now and then.
Well, Bakshi, I know that for you, you are ever a man who is caught in the crossfires. But are you surprised by the behavior by UPDF?
I think that goes to, it's really an institutional problem, because by the time a fan is being threatened, it means it goes back to the institution itself, but also it goes back on the structures in the institution. And I think it was the playoffs last season where we actually complained and said not only the UPDF players but also the UPDF fans were actually violent and breaking the Lugogo. We already have our seats already in Lugogo already weak and they're tired, but they're already jumping and breaking on them. But also it goes to even their play, their style of play. There's like when you're playing UPDF, you're going to be playing a very rough game. So I think it's a whole institutional issue. But also when you start threatening fans and you do it, means you're not positive when it comes to criticism. One of the challenges we are facing in the institution of the different institutions of sport is when they look at criticism, when they look at feedback, they look at it at criticism. They look at it as an attack.
Just
You don't like me.
football. Just football.
Yeah, today I get feedback.
Because I bishop.
Give you feedback, you think it is criticism. And actually, right now, there are people who block you and they do not want even to speak to you because of that. So I think that is a cultural problem. It is an institutional problem. And it's really not very cool because that's how violence in games start. Because just imagine Bashir has been threatened. What does it mean? The next time he might speak something, and what happens is violence erupts. And in most cases, you'll find that the rules will instead go for the fun and don't go for the institution. You find someone being banned, someone being fined without looking at the top, the bottom cause of violence. So it's not really cool. It should not happen. No one should be threatened at any one moment unless what you have really done is really out of context. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bakshi, for sharing some of your, thoughts on the matter of Bashir. And for Bashir, please do keep engaging with the fans. Do keep engaging with your colleagues. We don't want to hear of a scenario where you disappear from the scene, because we have seen a lot of things happening. And so we hope that you keep engaging with us. You keep, informing those close friends about where your whereabouts and how you are at any one given point. And should anyone threaten you, please again inform everyone. Again, for that matter. Well, gentlemen, we are now going to quickly talk about the men's finals because we've spoken about the women's finals, but the men's finals are up. The City Oilers take on the KIU Titans. KIU Titans, only the second time I believe they have made it to the final, but never have won it. For the City Oilers, they are going for the 9th title. And what a way to run for it, because one, they do not have to have the burden of going into the Elite 16 qualifiers for the BAL. They are now awaiting placements. But when you get back onto the local scene, Bakshi, one of the things that have been making rounds is the so-called selling of the final by the City Oilers to the KIU. There is rumor going around that the City Oilers will be selling this final to the KIU Titans.
I don't know whether I should even comment to that, because I think one of the challenges we have faced, and I've mentioned this in several platforms, I think one of the challenges we are facing is we are having a lot of misinformation, disinformation. People are not being factual. There's where I was, and I was speaking to Name Blazers fans, and I'm telling them, have you actually been told the truth? And they were like, we are using BAL as a scapegoat. And I'm like, then let's stop the conversation. Let's stop the conversation. If you're having an issue with the federation, if you're having and I even posted it in one of the groups, I said, why is it that this conversation is coming from the name? And the thing is, if a game has been sold off and it is all over, like that is already a red flag. It cannot be everywhere. Every group is speaking about it. Everyone is speaking about it. If a game has been sold and we have seen these issues of match fixing happening, if there's match fixing happening, you actually realize it either after the game or during the course of the game. But you cannot tell me that a game has been sold 7 weeks, because that conversation almost started before the playoffs. I remember, I think it was MacGyver who sent out a tweet. So that conversation started way back before the playoffs. If a game is sold even before, how did they know that City Oilers is going to reach the final with KIU before the playoffs? We saw the last game of game 3 of the semifinals. We saw KIU struggling against UCU. If they had lost that game, I'm telling you, KIU would have lost the series. So the thing is, I think we are just having a lot of, either it's an emotional problem. Sorry to use that word. Maybe it's an emotional thing. We have issues with the federation. But if you have issues with the federation, why don't you speak the fact? Stick to the issue. But when you start spreading rumors, spreading hearsays, I think it is not cool. So for me, I'd say that's going to be my comment. Whether the game has been sold or not, it's none of my problem. The most important thing, if the game has been sold, let there be investigation. If there's anyone that has evidence, log in the evidence, write to the federation and say, we have gotten evidence, this game has. But if you keep it silent, then it means you're also a part of the problem.
You're contributing to the problem.
You're contributing to the problem, because that's what we are seeing in football, where some people, they say, for you knew. And that's what FIFA was giving people 10 years, 5 years bans and all that, because they knew what was happening and they didn't communicate. And so if I'm FUBA, actually, I need to call these people to book and say, by the way, you are spreading this information. Can you give us information? If you don't, we fine you. We ban you off the game, so that people learn lessons, because you cannot start spreading such information if you do not have evidence.
Yeah. Well, Bakshi, that is quite something. But now, gentlemen, get on to the final. Hudson, the final is here. At the beginning of the season, there was talk of NAM Blazers getting back into the final. We hoped that UC Cannons would have, been able to also offer a bit of challenge somewhere along the way, but that has not since happened. And now it is a City Oilers, defending champions, 8-time champions, who are taking on the two-time finalists, KIU Titans. Can the KIU Titans actually make a charge for it? Because they have Camero, who has been in the final several times than we could even care to mention. You have Collins Kasuja, who is no stranger to the finals as well. You have got players like Bazangu, who is also no stranger to the finals.
Malungu.
Balungu, rather. You have Banza, who is also a good player for the KIU Titans. Can the KIU Titans, with the team that they have and the technical bench that they have, can they make a challenge against the City Oilers?
I also think this final is for two people. Tony versus Joel. Both of them are point guards with a lot of brains. Tony is a guy who can give you 10 assists in a game, and he has 4 points. He's a guy who doesn't trash. But he has one thing, and even in the last finals, everyone saw it. In game 7, he was the one who beat Namongo Blazers. Of course, Jimmy was injured, and people forgot about Duliba, and he beat them badly. I was watching the game of KIU, and if Joel is on that court, you be like, the ball flows very well. You would see the ball flowing very well because he's a mature point guard. And both of them are good at defense. So that's why I'm saying the finals again is Tony versus Joel. So you're going to enjoy that as well. For Balungu with his shooting, of course, Oilers has got a lot of defenders. Rai can take him up, and the option he has is to drive in. Oilers has more shooters than KIU. Fayed Bale, Rai Work, Michael Good, Tony Duliba, Jimmy Enabu. We are the shoots, but it's also a shooter. Cesar Chezito. K has got, of course, Colin Kasuja, Innocent Ochela. They've got Balungu, who is their best shooter. Yeah. Chuma rarely shoots. He's good at perimeter shots. He's a 2-point player from way back from UCU. Actually, from the time he was at Veg, then he joined UCU, our savior, Oilers. Now back at KIU. Chuma is a person of two toes. Stanley hasn't stepped up. Magara hasn't stepped up in these playoffs. I haven't seen the Magara Stanley we saw in Warriors. We haven't seen him yet. Is not delivering. For Munaba, we all know he plays this thing of like, as if he's playing 21. When he's not paint, he can't give you the ball. He's like, I have to deliver this basket. He's a young kid, but he has this sort of like, I have to make sure the basket is in. So I would say generally it's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be but Oilers has an upper hand because most of the players are experienced. Of course, not forgetting Titus Sudi is a championship now. Fayed is a championship now. They haven't won a championship yet. They've reached finals, I think, 2 times. When they're at UCU, they're like, at this time around we need a championship. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting series, I would say that.
Bakshi, I'm going to bring you in here, right at the point where Hudson has stopped. Does the City Oilers have the hunger that will send them all the way to win the championship?
I think one thing that has happened about this entire season is it has been hard for you to know who is going to step up in an Oilers game. There's a time almost for about 6 games, you'd have a different set of 3 players that have been performing. Like this time around, you have, for example, Alawi, Tony, and maybe Rai. The next time you have Oxy, maybe Cyrus and someone. The next time you have Tony and all that. So I think it's really very hard for you to know who is going to step up at which Oilers game. But like Hudson has mentioned, one of the things that I've seen about the last finals is the person who has been winning Oilers games in finals. Actually, there are 2 people, Oxy and Tony. Oxy puts in, there's work. Even right now, he's not giving you the points, but you'll see the blocks he has. If you see the steals he has, if you see the rebounds he has, he's actually putting in a shift in the games. And Tony will come out in a final and he'll win for you that final in the easiest of ways. That's what he did to Name Blazers. Actually, in the last 3 minutes of the game, he beat literally Name Blazers solely. The thing about, but also you have hungry players who haven't yet won a championship. There, you have how many? You have Maka won the championship last season. Yes, he won.
Maka won last season.
Yeah,
But you have Walujo.
You have what? Walujo won the championship
last season.
He hasn't won.
Yes, no, Walujo hasn't. So you have Walujo.
You have Walujo.
You have Walujo. You have Alawi. You have Titus. You have Bale. Then you have who is this?
Good.
So that
Good.
So you have 5 players who do not have a championship in that team, and they're all hungry. They need to win something because Bale and Titus leaving. You see, you coming to Oilers. It's one thing in their mind. They have done everything. Bale and Titus already at the national team. They have nothing to prove about that. They'll always have that call-up. They have reached the final. The only thing they do not have is a National Basketball League championship. You have moved to Oilers, and this is an opportunity for you to win the championship. So I think the hunger is there, and such players are very difficult players to play with because you don't know whether they'll show up or not, and you don't know how they'll show up. But also, I think given the investment KIU has put in this season, because the investment is really high. The investment put in by KIU this season is really very, very good. I always tell people one thing. If the KIU bench is up with these tactics, they'll beat you hands down with that team they have. Because that team is good on paper. The only thing they need is the right person at the bench. If they have the right person at the bench, they'll beat you. But if the person on the bench is not really the best of people, you can trash KIU at any one moment because you realized how they actually struggled against a depleted UCU. UCU almost didn't have at one moment, the players playing were injured, and you really see that they were forcing games to play. If you see they struggled in game 3 of the semifinals, so the bench needs to do a lot. But also one of the things is when you look at the Oilers games, the bench has also been putting in shift. They have like a half of the points they have posted. When you look at the KIU bench will not give you points. That's one of the things that you need to realize. And one of the things I saw is last season, what made Name Blazers lose the finals is the bench never gave them points. And with basketball, one of the things I've seen, if you do not have a bench that will give you the points, you'll lose the game. That's it.
Hudson,
of course, in the KIU squad, of course, they've got Joseph Chuma, they've got Stanley Mugara, they've got Balungu, they've got Saidi Amesi, they've got Peter Obleng, who was in the finals last season, they've got Munaba, they've got Joel, they've got Coin Kasoja, who was in the finals last season, they've got Innocent Ochela from, we saw him, the Innocent Ochela when Deje was on fire before he went to Jekyll, before he went to Power as well. They've got Isaiah Atta, who is a shooter. We can't forget him from the ECU times. It was a problem in that series against Oilers in the finals. You've got Okoth, who rarely plays. You've got Opio, who also rarely plays. So that's their team for KIU.
Well, quite a matchup that is going to be. Gentlemen, I'm going to take your predictions. Who do you see winning the final? Bakshi, I'll start with you.
That is automatic.
Okay, let's do this. Moses, who is going to win the 10th championship?
Nice way to put it. So Bakshi's already saying for him the City Oilers are going to beat the KIU Titans. Hudson.
I'll name person who's going to win after game 1, after tomorrow's game. I'll tell you the person who's going to win the championship.
No. We are taking predictions now.
No, my prediction is I'll just quote what Tony told the Blazers last season: beat us in a 7-point game series, and then we shall talk. So that's the prediction.
Wow, nice way to put it. Hudson.
I'll I'll go with Oilers. I'm going with Oilers.
All right. I guess none of us is giving the KI Titans a chance in this game. So, and then we'll definitely be giving the City Oilers all. We're hoping to have Charles Gava as well, but he'll be joining us in a few minutes because he's wrapping up on the other matter. Well, gentlemen, that's it from the finals section. Remember that the JKL Dolphins take on the KU Rangers, and then City Oilers take on the KU Titans. What a season the KU Titans, what the season the KUs have had, and quite a season for Nasa Serunjoji, president of FUBA,
As the assistant
president,
coach, don't forget.
president and owner of KIU teams, assistant coach of KIU teams.
Hudson, where is it written? Where is it written that he's the assistant coach? Or because you see him on the bench, you think he's the assistant coach?
Because on the bench.
A person who calls out the plays, a person who calls for timeout and calls the plays, what is he doing on the bench? He's coaching. He's coaching. No, imagine, a quick one. Imagine Moses Magogo sitting on the bench of Kampala Queens. No, Magogo sitting on the bench of Kampala Queens, and guess what? He's making subs, calling out players. You know what? This and this. What he's doing is coaching. Yeah.
I think that's why I think I think that's why I applaud. I think that's why I applaud the football system. For you to sit on the bench, you either have to be a coach, the head coach, assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, the team physio or doctor, then the sub. You know, these days they even restrict. There are people who say this is a trainer. They actually even tell the trainer you are not supposed to sit there. We only need the 3 to 4 people seated there. The rest of you get out of the bench. So I think what you mentioned is really very critical.
Wow, you guys are not kind with your words to our beloved president. I hope that they deny you people visas.
The issues. No, the issues.
Hudson, before you go far, why I'm wishing Bakshi well is because when we were in Kigali, people said that our tickets were paid for. People had paid us to go and support the Gazelles. So I'm praying for Bakshi. He might be here saying so many things about our beloved president, and then we don't get sponsored to go to Kigali to support.
I would say this. I'm just happy because he's so passionate about basketball. He loves the sport so much.
Yeah.
You see him seated there. He's shouting, he's doing what? He's so passionate about the sport. Though, sitting on the bench and calling timeouts and doing what, I'm like, why? Why is he doing that? Supposed to sit aside, watch his coach do his job. But anyway, he took on the role. He has delivered, actually. He has reached the finals 2 times. The 2 teams are in the finals. So he has delivered. He's done a good job.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, he's done a great job indeed. Hopefully, that good job will see them win a championship. And of course, a reminder that KE Titans have probably had 3-4 coaches this season, and some coaches have only appeared for 2 minutes, and others have only appeared for trainings and then disappeared. But
let me tell you something. My best moment, my best coaching moment this season was that game when KCCA was playing KIU. I think it was game 2 of the quarterfinals. Game 2 or game 1, I don't remember. And we're at Lugogo seated. KCCA was, I think KIU was leading by 1 point, and they were going to lose that game.
Yes.
This coach walks in with a bat. I think he walks in the fourth quarter. Third quarter was ending. He walks in, he sits. Immediately he sat. The first thing they did, they called a timeout.
Yeah.
Remember, he didn't sit at the bench because he's not supposed to sit at the bench. So he sat. Do you see those chairs at Lugogo? So this
Yeah.
is where the bench is seated. So he sat at the upper side. So he sat there, and the players actually came to him. The head coach had to sit that entire quarter. He was calling plays, he was doing everything while seated there. We never saw him again. They told us his role is to do the training sessions. That was it.
Wow. Well, Charles Gava Mukulia, good evening, sir.
Good evening, good members. I hope you're well. I can see Hudson, I can see Bakshi, and I can see you. How are you doing?
We are well.
We're good. We're well.
I'm sorry for joining late. I had a previous engagement, as you all know.
Yeah, that's fine. You look like you are in your workshop.
Yes, I'm here in the rural
area.
in the office. I'm here in the office in the rural area. Even us in the rural area, we have good offices, as you can see.
That's right.
We have good offices. I'm here enjoying.
What will go on?
Because normally people think that we'll be suffering, but we are here, we are enjoying, and yeah, we don't want to come back to Kampala.
As that is being said,
Yeah.
have you been given your portion beans for the evening?
we are eating beef today. We have well spiced.
Well,
we are not very suffering. We have good life.
Just quickly, there's a question. There's the issue of City Oilers, KI Titans. Who do you see winning this final?
I'm an Oilers fan, and given that I'm a dictator, I intend to remain dictating upon. But I believe it's going to be a good game. I mean, the two times the teams have played against each other, they've been great games. I think Oilers won the last game, but it was still a tight game. So I expect that it's still going to be very difficult for us. Though we have a good team. KIU brought in a few Bachuba here and there. They'll be able to hold on for maybe one game, but overall, I think City Oil has what it takes in terms of the mentality and the attitude, and just the know-how of how to grind out a championship games. City Oil has the facilities, has the players who have been in these crunch time situations for very many times, and I think they will be able to come out victorious. So I think City Oil will still win. Though KIU will put up a fight, but City Oil will still take that day.
All right. Well,
I'll be there. I'm coming back from the rural, so I'll be there. I think tomorrow, right? There's a game tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be there at the touchline. I'll be there. You know that famous Lukwago video is like, yeah, I'm at the gate. I'm here. That's how I'm at
the gate. Well, gentlemen, we'll leave basketball at that. Quite an extensive discussion that has been. But Hudson, there's something that you hinted on earlier on in the day: the new FUFA rules on presidency.
It shocked me. How can a FUFA president be a senior 4 graduate? Like seriously, FUFA president is supposed to have senior 4 UCE.
Then some footballing English, biology, and mathematics.
Then some footballing course. Anyway.
But Bakshi, the man also said that you needed to have had 4 years of experience in football administration.
The thing is, every election
Bakshi really knows a bit about this.
Yeah.
Bakshi, explain to them what you were telling me last Thursday.
Now, the thing is, every election cycle, there has been something new that has been coming up. And the interesting thing is, I'll say this, the administration we are seeing, not only in football, but all sports, is a replication or is just a mirror of our societal issues. What has happened is every election cycle, there are new rules that are coming up, new protocols that are coming up. When you look at the current state, it means for you to be a president of FUFA, you need to have served at least a minimum of 7 years into football management, and in one of them including the executive. So it means if you are not in the current executive, either vice president or committee person or EXCOM member, it means you cannot stand for any presidency. But also this is it. You need to be nominated by a member who is either UPL or FUFA Big League. You need to be nominated by 3 special interest groups. These special interest groups, the interesting thing that people don't understand is these special interest groups have CEOs who are staff of FUFA. You have the regions, yes, who have CEOs who are staff of FUFA. For you to access a delegate of a special interest group, you need to go through the CEO of that special interest group. So how are you going to come out and say, I'm going to stand for FUFA presidents, and I'm going to a special interest group like beach soccer, or you're going to futsal, or you're going to women, or you're going to youth, or referees or coaches, and saying, by the way, I want your delegate. Can your delegate sign for me? When I'm being paid by FUFA, already that's already a no-go. So it means you're going to fail to get those 3 from the special interest groups.
Yeah.
So just that alone has put a caveat. So it means if you are outside the football circle, if you're and the circle, I mean that group that is around
the executive.
You cannot, however much you want or you don't, because you need access to the delegates. Let me tell you, the last election, delegates were hidden. You come to a delegate, the delegate says, and when a delegate signs on Magogo's papers, he cannot withdraw. That's what happened last time. You can't. Do you know we had delegates withdrawing papers at the last moment? That's a conversation I do not want to go into because there are so many things that are already. But the thing is, when you look at the current state with the regulations, you cannot. And this is his what? He's coming for his 4th term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be 4th term. And when you look at the age, minimum age is maximum you shouldn't be above 70 years to stand. How old is Magogo?
Yeah,
Magogo
minimum 35, maximum 70.
70. How old is he? He's going to be here, unless
he's a young man. He's a young man. He's around 40 something. So he still has to Karakata as some 30 more years at his rate.
So unless he does what Mulinda did, unless he does what Mulinda did and says, do you know what, guys? I've served enough. Let me go. But
do you see him doing that?
But also, let me give you the other funny thing. That pharmaco course. I'll give you a very interesting scenario. I did that time when that pharmaco course was being introduced. I did 2 courses. I did a course on lead management. It was a certificate course. Actually, even Magogo was one of the students there in that course. We were at Nambole. It was a FIFA course. Then the second one on club management. It's also an administrative course. Magogo was one of our instructors. That was his first leadership course that he did. Now, one of the times when we submitted those certificates, they told us that those certificates are not allowed. You need to do a pharmaco. I said, but this is a FIFA leadership administrative course. So they get the pharmaco course. Do you know that if you have done the Uganda Olympic Committee course, leadership course, administrative course, and you want to be in any point, either CEO, what, administrative football, they still tell you to go and do the pharmaco. Fine, it's good for us to do pharmaco. It is a leadership course, but you shouldn't make it as a regulation, because for you to be a CEO, you just need to have administrative knowledge, administrative skills, people management, human resource, a bit of financial, and all that. what they are trying to tell us, if for example, if my club is here and I want a CEO, and I go, for example, to Coca-Cola and I pick the CEO from Coca-Cola and bring that CEO to run my football club, they say he doesn't qualify. Why? He doesn't have pharmaco. But this is the CEO who has been running Coca-Cola. So it means he has the skill set to run the
Knowledge.
football club.
What's the knowledge?
So, but also,
Actually,
so
we-
that,
But I want to comment about that pharmacocos. Why is it being praised so much? Because we are not seeing how good it is. I mean, there has not been any change in the leadership and administration of the sport. We are hosting our games right now in Nanawe Stadium. We have funny rules such as this. We have ambiguity of regulations in the FIFA statute. If indeed the pharmacocos was such a great benchmark, then we wouldn't have most of these issues, most especially administrative issues. We are about to again go into a round of other games where we'll have our team either not appearing. I mean, we have our team not appearing in a continental event that takes half the teams in Africa. They take 26 teams. We are 52 in Africa, but we still fail to be a part of the 26 because of management issues. How great is the pharmacocos?
the thing is, the pharmacocos was introduced first of all. It's for me, I'll tell you, the pharmacocos is one way to create. It's an indoctrination. It's like the way they take you to Chankwanzi for the patriotic cause. Okay, for you people who are not patriots like Gava and all that, so we take you to Chankwanzi, take you through patriotism. We take you through that. So it's like an indoctrination. They are taking you there. They are taking you through the doctrines of football. They are taking you through the roles of FUFA. What has FUFA done? What this, and all that. I'll tell you, there's something that was introduced that was called FUFA Pro Agenda. The FUFA Pro Agenda was a very good one. But the problem with the FUFA Pro Agenda, it was actually being used to get people into and become culprits. It was being used to chase away people. It was being used to make sure that you're out of football, because the FUFA agenda was set up to help institutions become stronger in terms of having strategies, in terms of having policies, in terms of growing their leadership. But the problem is the checklist of FUFA Pro agenda was, if you do not have it, we shall not give you club license. If you do not have it, we shall not give you this. That's why you defined a club starting off the season with 100%, mid-season they don't have a stadium. But they passed the club licensing of the FUFA Pro agenda. And what has happened? What right now that would have been a very good instrument, why are we having clubs struggling? Wait, there was a FUFA Pro agenda introduced. It's the same thing with the pharmaco. If you don't have pharmaco, you can't take up any leadership position anywhere. And I'm like, then why are we having issues of you saying we need professionalism? If you need professionalism, it means you need to hire professionals. The pharmaco can just be an added course if you want to know what football. But also there are so many other courses. We have people who have started diploma in foot. When you study the diploma at Uganda Olympic Committee, it's very, very. So the pharmaco course is, for me, something to curtail the place. I've never done it, and I'm not willing to do it, and I'll never do it.
But for me, my opinion about these new FUFA rules on the presidency is that they just seek to exclude very many people, because they want to create a cabal of people that can be able to take over this thing, and also just to create that safety that maybe one person or two people will always be in charge of football. But like anything else, I think football, like any other thing, really benefits from changes in leadership and changes in thought. And of course, when you have a FUFA, when you have the delegates, because if you read the FUFA statutes, what is actually the supreme body of FUFA is the General Assembly. The Executive Assembly, the Executive Committee, which the president and the CEO of FUFA belong to, reports to the General Assembly. But because of the hegemony that has been created by the FUFA rules on presidency and the long time that people have been in power, they've been able to reverse that, and it's now the General Assembly that reports to the executive. So the General Assembly can in no way try, if because let's face it, in some instances rules are created, good rules are created in instances where we have a good leader, we are able to put that leader there. But if we don't have a good leader, then we are able to tell that leader that, you know what, there is this rule and we're using it to get you out. But we don't have that now in Uganda. So of course it's going to be difficult now that we have a Pamoja bid and people want to be seen in those photo ops as the FUFA president. It's going to be difficult for people to make some conscious decisions that, you know what, I've been at the helm since 2013. I've done this, and this. I've not been able to achieve this and this. Let me hand over the baton to the next person, and they're able to do it. So, and also we have to question the General Assembly. I think today Bakshi and was questioning someone about how great the FUFA General Assembly is, and if it's not just something as Bakshi likened it to Chankwanzi, where people go and they sing praises to one person. Indeed, I believe my argument is that whereas the supreme body of FUFA is supposed to be the General Assembly, it has lost its power and might, that has been diluted. And of course, that now feeds into these new FUFA rules and presidency. So I don't know if Ugandan football will have a change at the top for a while, but I think it is good for us to have changes at the top every now and then. Yes.
Wow, gentlemen, this has been quite a conversation, really. And of course, Gaba, you've mentioned something about what Bakshi was having, and I'm sure he was having a conversation on Twitter with the FUFA TV CEO, Sean Mubiru, formerly CEO Sports Club Villa, formerly CEO at Express as well. I think at Express, if I'm not mistaken. But uh, it's really interesting to see that certain circumstances and scenarios keep coming up, and you see, it's for someone like Bakshi who has attended some of these AGMs, he really does know what goes on in there. That many a times it's just, hey, Baleso Mugati. Anyway, but you get the point, so but we'll leave it at that. Quite a conversation that has been on the issue of FUFA and the new presidency issues. But gentlemen, time is quickly running out of hands, but I want us to have a part 2 of conflict resolution. I know last time Hudson went and watched the after show, and he was very jealous of the fact that he missed out on this show. I know that Bakshi, you also had a lot of comments that you did not manage to air out because of the time factor, and so for Gava. I'll start with you, Bakshi. Conflict resolution in sport in Uganda.
I'll start off from where where there's something I mentioned last time, that one of the things that we should understand, that in any environment, even our work environments, even at home, even as friends, we have conflicts. But the conflicts need to find means of being resolved. And we need to identify what type of conflicts do we have. When you look at the current state of our sports in Uganda, the sport is amateur. So it means when event comes to conflicts, our conflicts might not even be the type of conflicts that are worth billions of money or even millions of money, because even our contracts are not that big. So when you look at the conflicts are in so many scenarios. We have seen instances of conflicts between players and a club in terms of maybe contractual obligations. We have seen instances of conflict between coaches and clubs, also because of contractual obligations. We have seen instances of conflict between players and coaches because of maybe you don't fit into my play, you are we're not on the same page and all that. We have seen conflict between clubs and sponsors, where the sponsor fails or the club fails, this deal is not good and all that. We have seen conflict between the federation and clubs, having conflict there. We have seen conflict happening on the pitch between referees and players, referees and coaches. But also we have seen clubs and clubs having conflict in terms of player transfers and all that. Also, we have seen conflict between clubs and their fans. So when we understand all those various forms of conflicts, we are able to know how to address them. From last time when we were discussing conflict in our sports fraternities, we realized that the biggest conflicts are happening between players and clubs, and most of them are contractual. And given this is an amateur sport, whether we are in netball, rugby, cricket, fine, we are say it is professional because you're signing a contract. But if you're signing a contract that does not even have a minimum wage as per someone is supposed to earn money because of the different laws we have, it means you are still really in that amateur sport. So it means there are so many agreements that are going to happen off the book, like issues of sign-on fee. We have seen contracts not having sign-on fees, but a player will come and we shall sit on the side and agree and say, I'll give you 800,000 Uganda shillings, I'll give you 10 million, but we shall not include it in the contract. In the contract, we shall include ABCD. We have seen players who have failed to receive maybe their match bonuses. We have even seen that even happening at the national team, where players have to ask for match bonuses. We have seen, so you find that such incidences in amateur sports become so many because the bit of the contract is still very vague. And some of the contracts that we have do not even stipulate if we have conflict, where do I go? One thing I'll salute FUFA for is they managed to have that standard template that has some of those bits. If you have conflict between the club, you go to this body at FUFA, you do this, you do this. Some of that really already gives an awareness that if I have issues with my club, I do that. But we have seen contracts of different, there are some sports, you see a contract and it's just one page. They even don't speak about resolution, conflicts, when do I dissolve this contract, in how long, and all that. But someone has actually signed a what? A contract. So, and we have also seen instances where players sign on contracts, they don't know, they are just given the last page where they're supposed to sign the contract. And they sign on that when they don't know whatever is inside the contract. And when they say, but you never fulfilled, someone said, but no, you're only supposed to receive 5,000 shillings per game. So given those instances, it's very important for us to understand that conflict is inevitable. We might not run away from it, but we need to ensure we understand that for this conflict, we need to have proper mechanisms. Different bodies have set up. When you look at the football structure, for it has that. Also basketball has those structures. I've seen rugby has the disciplinary committee that really disciplines people very well when it comes to people who are fighting off the pitch. But also I've seen recently the number of bans that are coming in. So you find that those judicial bodies are working. But sometimes the challenge with those judicial bodies is they're already biased. By the time you're moving into resolving a conflict, the people there either do not have the skill or information, or they're already biased, because remember, they are being picked from already existing clubs. Now, just imagine I am going to a judicial body in any sport, and the people who are there is someone from an opposing team. Like, just imagine I'm going to the judicial body, and the person is supposed to make a judgment. I'm from either Cobs, and the person who is chairing that is from Pirates, and we have 2 games to win the season. What will happen if they need to ban me for the rest of the season? They'll push for that ban. So those are some of the issues that are coming in there. So I said that is something important that we need to know. We need to know where the conflict is coming from and what type of conflicts we need to address.
Charles Gava, this is now where I bring you in. This man has spoken about the different types of, conflicts that exist in sport, and how we need to start really looking at what is a conflict, what kind of conflict can exist, before we can talk about how we can resolve that conflict, this is now where you come in. Baksha has been able to highlight some of the conflicts that can exist: fan to fan, fan to player, player to coach, coach to player, coach to fan, you know, team to federation, team to fans, and things like that, team to teams. How do we now arrest some of these situations?
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy that this is a conversation that we are having, because one, we are all passionate about sport, and then probably we have core competence in dispute resolution, and therefore can be able to advise even for free, though preferably at a cost on some of these issues. So for me, the very first thing I would want is that we have increased sensitization. We have quite the different bodies that govern the sports. For example, FUFA, FUBA, Uganda Rugby Union, have their statutes and rules, and competition guidelines that they state. But there is need for more sensitization, because in most of these guidelines, there is no, let me say, they are a bit ambiguous when it comes to dispute resolution. They lay out a good case on how they compare. If I use the FUBA statutes, for example, they lay out a good case for how the competition is supposed to be held, how the jerseys are supposed to be labeled. They even put a picture of what's supposed to happen, the contracted player, who is a foreign player, how many. They lay out a good case for that. But they forget that at the end of the day, as Bakshi has said, there's loads of things that could go wrong. The common law that people cite in terms of this is Murphy's law, whereby it says that what can go wrong will always go wrong. So, and given where sports is going, we're probably still looking at it as an amateur sport, but you don't know what can happen. 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, we could have some injection of money. We could have change in government policy, given that now probably the Pamoja bid has come in, and we are going to have maybe Suma doing a new facility. With a new facility can come very different pressures. We could have the league changing. We could have billions of sponsors coming into the league, with a new facility and whatnot. So we just have to be ready. So there has to be sensitization in the area of dispute resolution, because as per now, even the statutes and different regulations of the different unions and federations that govern Ugandan sport are lagging behind. If you look at the FUBA regulations, for example, they even have a grammatical error, because they describe a different body that will be the body that deals with appeals and arbitration. They call it a jury of appeal and arbitration in the definition. But then when they go into the actual rules of the competition, they call it a juridical and appeals tribunal. So I don't know if the two bodies are the same or if they're different, but that is what is now competition rules for 2023. So that shows you either there was a copy and paste job that wasn't well done, or there's just something wrong, because now that could create a lacuna, because someone could say that, for us, we referred to the body in the definition, this issue. But the other person could say that for us, we referred the issue to the body in the body of the competition rules. So the FUBA should look at that and quickly iron it out. Then, of course, FUBA, like all, is guilty of not trying to exploit a different dispute resolution mechanisms that are open. It immediately refers the issue to VP administration. It immediately refers the issue to that jury. I don't know what to call it now. I either call it the jury of appeal and arbitration, or to call it the juridical and appeals council. So you clearly see that they are not even providing a place for things like mediation. They're not providing a place for negotiation. They're immediately running to arbitration, which can be chaotic, because sometimes we have small claims. For example, most of our players don't earn a lot of money. So that claim can be very expensive to pursue via arbitration. And therefore, it's much better sorted by these other mechanisms of dispute resolution. And even if they talk about a body that deals with arbitration in the definition of the competition rules of FUBA, in the end, in the body, there is nowhere where they expressly talk about arbitration. So we don't know who has a local jurisdiction. We don't know how the parties are supposed, if different clubs, for example, if the clubs had an issue, if both clubs can come together and appoint their own arbitral tribunal, they don't make mention of an arbitration panel and an appointing authority. They don't mention what will guide procedure, if it's the rules of Uganda that will govern, or if it's other rules, if is it rules of wherever FIBA is located. So there's a lot of issues. Now, of course, now when we come to things like player contracts, are players sensitized about how a contract should be, how balanced it should be, who carries which risk, and how to, because it's from the risks and the responsibilities and obligations of the parties that dispute comes from. So I don't know if our contracts are formed a certain way, and if those contracts indeed involve a dispute resolution clause, and if they do involve a dispute resolution clause, then how well that dispute resolution clause is framed. Does it immediately call for arbitration? Does it call? And then we also have to look at the interplay between the bodies of the federation and what I would call what governs the central principles that govern arbitration. Because if you're providing for arbitration, then you should be open to the fact that arbitration, one of the central principles, is the principle of party autonomy, where parties get to decide how they choose to resolve their dispute, and that involves the method of the dispute resolution. If it's arbitration, then they look at how many arbitrators, they look at which entity will be the appointing authority, they look at if we have a law that has some gaps, will we involve maybe procedural rules, so will we maybe bring in rules from ICC? So very many things come into interplay, but most of these rules just skid over that. The FIFA statute is not different. Now the FIFA statute tries to, it makes mention of arbitration, yes, but then, as we said last time, there are different ways where it makes arbitration really difficult to do. And that's why I say that sometimes the leadership in FIFA also we have to also now go back to sensitization. We have to have chats with FIFA. We have to have chats with actually most of these sports federations. We have to have chats with different stakeholders in sports, because in some instances, the dispute may not even be within the federation. The dispute could be between a club and a third party, like a just a supplier. That's a third party. That's not a member of FUBA. That's not a member of FUFA. So what do the clubs do? Because now that's an issue with the club. Is that now still something that FUFA would want to, because FUFA in one of its articles says that local jurisdiction on all local disputes resides with it. Disputes regarding its members, would FUFA want to still get involved between MAFRO and KCCAO, between maybe if Echodu has a Jazz company and it's supplying Proline, would FUFA still want to be involved in that? Or is it up to the parties to make sure they resolve and thereafter report to FUFA that we had an issue but it was resolved? I think FUFA tries to give itself so much power, and it tries to control so many things, which in some instances can become very chaotic. So it's supposed to, if indeed it allows for arbitration, then it should allow for arbitration to work in a proper way. Because very many instances in the FUFA statutes, it keeps on saying that that local courts are not supposed to be involved. But you have to look at the fact that there is what we call arbitrability of disputes. In some instances, a dispute can't be solved by arbitration, which is the primary method that you set out, right? So probably there's a dispute where courts have to pronounce themselves on an issue of law. Sometimes arbitrators are not able to do that, or there's a dispute of criminal nature, which arbitrators sometimes, actually in most instances, arbitrators are not able to deal with issues of criminal nature. Arbitrators are able to deal with issues which are regarding civil law, because that is where anyway arbitration is, because arbitration as a center is for commercial interests, but there could be issues of criminal activity. But if in your rules it's clearly set out that there will be at no instance where local courts are involved in this, then
Charles, come back to us.
which parties could be which parties could be, guided. And also, you can't have arbitration without the local court, because it's the local court. Remember, most of us are used to dispute resolution through court. And the arbitration for us here in Uganda is governed by the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 2000, and I think that was recently amended somewhere in 2008. So it's up to the local courts to actually support arbitration, because in some instances, for example, FUFA sets out CAS, the Court of Arbitration of Sports, as one of the areas you can go to hold an arbitration. But remember, CAS is based in Geneva, and the act and so therefore CAS will offer you an award, which if you came here to the Ugandan setting will be called a foreign award. So it is through, and FUFA does not have enforcement ability. It's only the High Court that has enforcement ability, and it's the High Court that is set out in the Arbitration and Conciliation Act as that power that can do enforcement proceedings. So yes, you come with your award from Geneva, thank you very much, and then maybe you're telling Proline to do something. Proline tells you, well, we don't want to do it. So what do? You have to run to court. So as I said, it is self-defeatist to say that at no instance will a member of FUFA go to court, because FUFA spells out somewhere in Article 15 that a member who goes to court is actually liable for expulsion. But there are very many instances where the court has to support the arbitration process, interim proceedings such as injunctions. We have enforcement proceedings; those all have to go through court. So, and then I've also made mention of other instances where courts have to support this process. So, FUFA needs, and other federations, there needs to be a good discussion on how dispute resolution can be put in this, because now, as I also say, the Pamoja bid is going to expose us, because it involves very many. We are going to involve very many parties, and we are going to involve, and that may involve quite a number of disputes, which are even in different jurisdictions. And where we are going, as I say, we can't say, whereas we could say that sports right now is a bit amateur, but we can't say that that will be the case for Ugandan sport, 10 years from now. The state of Ugandan sport in 2002 isn't the state of Ugandan sport now. Sport is dynamic, like any other business, like any other interest. We could have people now who are interested in a specific way of doing sports, but we could have people 10 years from now who will probably rise to the occasion and do different things for sport, different sports. I'm seeing a number of sponsors trying to fight, in different spheres and areas. So where we need to prepare for that moment, we can't reach there, then start acting in retrospection, because that can be costly in terms of time and money. We need to prepare now. We need to always be on top of how to resolve disputes in sport and other spheres of life. Thank you.
Wow. Today, Gav has spoken so much English since 7 p.m. And we might need to save this man from himself. To say something. I want to put in before
it is my role to speak English. I came from the east to speak English in Kampala and other parts of Uganda.
Bakshi, I'm bringing you in now. Your final remarks on this matter, because I've been at this for 2 hours now. I'm sure Hudson, the family, is asking him if he's going to eat or not. But your final remarks.
I think it is really very important, and Gava has mentioned that we need to have more of these discussions. The fact is, the more our games, the more our sports become professional, the more we need to have clear ways of how best do we resolve the conflicts we have. We are moving into a state where we are moving into commercialization of the game. We have had conversations where sponsorship deals are signed and the clubs are saying, but why did you discuss on my behalf? The reason why we discussed on your behalf is because you're an amateur sport. You do not have the powers. We have the powers because we are the custodians. So if we are the custodians, we decide what you receive or not. It also means it's us who determine what your value is. So already that. So as we move into the commercialization of the game, as we move into the conversations of professionalizing the game, it means we should be ready to resolve a number of conflicts. It means we should be ready to utilize the different mechanisms that are available for us to resolve these disputes. If you limit dispute resolution, and like Gava said, when I was reading that bit of and trying to understand a bit of the competition's rules for FUBA, you find that there are several committees that are being mentioned. You're talking about the technical committee, competitions council, you're talking about an appeals committee, you're talking about this. Like, if we do not do proper sensitization, if we do not have open conversations around this, you'll find that the rules become ambiguous and they are up to anyone's interpretation. But also what it means is we need to start allowing professionals to come into this to ensure they are able to resolve some of these issues. But also it means we should be honest to ourselves when we are moving into such processes. If it is clear you want 10% off cut the sponsorship deal, include it in the contract. If you want 25%, include it in the contract. Don't have it at the back of the mind. Then when money comes, you say, by the way, I need my njaulo. So it has to be clearly put. And if it is put there, how are the rest also benefiting? So as I close this, my final parting shots, it's important. This conversation should continue. And we need to have the conversation further. It shouldn't end here. I know me and Gava are planning to see how best can we have sensitization of different sports federations. We might not have everyone. It will be an open check. Whoever is willing, we work with you, do the sensitization, and we see how it works out. This is a very expensive venture. I know for now, people might not really understand it, but we need people to be aware. We need to do more information and awareness about this. We need to do more advocacy about it so that we are able to have everyone on board. Sometimes they say when you give people so much information, they might end up becoming a problem, but we shall be streamlining things. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed, quite a conversation that we are having there. Gava, you are also coming. It's been 3 hours of you speaking English, and now we want you to just summarize to us your thoughts, and then we can be able to release you as well. Perhaps also, for me, Umeme has requested me that I end my talking for the time being, but nonetheless, we are used to these circumstances in Uganda. The system was not set out to help us. It was set out to make us struggle. Your final remarks, Gava.
Well, my final remarks will start with one wishing that my club KCCA can up its game and we start winning some games. I'm tired of moving around in my KCCA jersey and we are not winning games. People always ask me, Nango, Lugogo. My second remark is to wish my team, City Oilers, the best tomorrow as we play against KIU Titans. I will be there. I know we are always very few in the indoor arena and we have so many haters. Hudson may be one of them. We may be on the opposite side of things tomorrow during the game.
But actually, we are 2 MCA.
We are 2 MCA tomorrow. We are 2 MCA tomorrow.
Yeah.
That means I have to be early. So I
also means that don't carry a date.
Yeah, I won't carry a date. I will come. Maybe you guys should keep me a seat, Hudson. I want to sit next to you as we digest the game. But as Bakshi has also said, where sports is going, where we want sports to go, because at some points you have to drive a sport, you have to drive something to a particular direction. So where we want sports to go is for it to be proper in certain regards. We may not have money to build facilities, we may not have money to do certain things, but for certain things that don't require money but just simply us being put together properly, I think those are things that we can do. And I think change in attitude and mentality towards dispute resolution in sports can be something that we can achieve. Of course, I'm happy to lead and a campaign to advocacy about dispute resolution in sports together with Bakshi and whoever else who want to join. I'm happy to do that because I believe it's an area where we can all benefit from. And I believe it's as a pure sports enthusiast, it always hurts me and pains me when we have particularly current issues as if these are 1970s. So it's just good for us to move this into a certain direction. I'll be happy if all of you come on board, if all of you support this, if all of you give this voice, and I'm happy to do that. So I'm happy to have any conversation in sports, local sports, most especially because I believe we've over promoted foreign sports. So it's time for us to watch our own games. It's time for us to give our games a voice. So I'm happy to do that. And see you guys tomorrow, except for Bakshi, who is in outside countries.
I might miss all the finals if we don't get to game 7.
Yeah,
No, we shouldn't get to game 7. We should win this very quickly.
sum up the matter. But you can tell that Bakshi is in a different world. The man has a new filter. Well, Hudson, Hudson, your final remarks before we can call it a night.
Of course, what they're talking about is something so serious. We've seen it with FOBA. Uh, the competitions committee rules something, the clubs appeal, then they go to the tribunal. The tribunal sits on a Saturday and they take over 2 weeks without giving us their final feedback, their final verdict. That's how Murray is on their case. I'm like, guys, this and this happened. The clubs have appealed. Where is your final verdict? Yeah. And some clubs don't know some of the rules, by the way. It happens mainly to the players, actually, on their contracts. Because some of them come to us, they're complaining. They haven't been paid in 3 months. I'm like, what is your contract? It's like, we had a talk with this manager, supposed to get some amount of money, but this and this happened. I'm like, please, contract is important. Yeah. But with time, I know things will change. The sport will grow. Generally, the sport will grow. As Gava said, I'm a KCCA fan. Our next opponent is Chitara. I'm happy. We start off with winning that game from dozens of Masindi. Though it's a hard task, but we are struggling. But I know patience pays. We shall step up and win games. All in all, it has been a great week.
This side in Hoima, I want to tell you that when Chitara is playing, the whole Hoima town is at a standstill. If those boys are cowering under the lights in Lugogo, they will cower here in the Albertine Grappling. Trust me. They will cower here in the Albertine Grappling. Trust me. The whole Hoima town, all the taxis, all the conductors put on Chitara FC shirts. If those boys are not shining in Lugogo, I don't know if they will come here in Hoima and win this game. All the fans are close to the stadium. The fans are in the stadium. It's difficult, but I wish as well. I want to win a game. So I want us to win.
True.
Oh wow.
Biwa, thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for this conversation. We've really been able to talk about so many things. We spoke about the Victoria Cup that is making a return to Uganda after almost 5-7 years of not being there. The Elgon Cup is also going to be back. Importantly, as well, the conversation on that is a Rugby World Cup that happened, where the All Blacks will be taking on Ireland. But we spoke about the basketball scene, and I very much agree with you, Gava, that it is time for us to give a light to our local sports. And as the Sports Kabozi, we are very committed to mainly covering a lot of local sports with major focus on sports that are not really getting much of the limelight. Talk about basketball, cricket, netball. Football has enough coverage. Everyone is literally covering football, so we will not much give it much of the attention. But the sports covers will literally be very much about the local sport. So With that being said, I want to wish you gentlemen a very good night. And for some of you, we will invite you back next week. But for some of you with filters, we will let you first handle matters that have taken you to filters. And with that, we want to say have a good night, everyone. Bye bye until next time.
Right. Bye bye.